A quiet, lonely night, an old, eerie house, and a hidden truth that defies human understanding. This is the story of a man who moves into a new home only to discover something in the basement that shatters his reality. Was it just his imagination, or was there truly something disturbing lurking within those walls? Let's uncover the chilling secrets of this tale. When I left the house that night, I told myself it was over. I'd find somewhere else to live, maybe sleep in my car if I had to. But no matter how fast I drove, how far I tried to get away, the feeling stayed with me. I didn't go far. Exhaustion set in around midnight, and I pulled into a motel off the highway. The room smelled faintly of mildew, but at least it wasn't the stench of damp earth and rot. I locked the door, bolted it, and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the dark TV screen. My mind kept going back to the hole in the basement floor. What was down there? Something moved, I was sure of it. And those whispers, that guttural noise, it wasn't natural. I told myself not to think about it, but sleep didn't come easily. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt like I was being watched. The air in the room seemed to grow heavier, pressing against my chest. I woke several times in a cold sweat, though I couldn't remember my dreams. The next morning, I decided I couldn't leave it like this. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe I was letting the isolation of the house get to me. If I didn't go back, I'd spend the rest of my life wondering what had really happened. I returned to the house around noon, hoping the daylight would make everything seem less menacing. The sight of the place, its peeling paint, the sagging roof sent a shiver through me. The smell hit me as soon as I stepped inside. It was worse than before, like the entire house was rotting from the inside out. The air was damp, the kind of damp that clings to your skin. I steeled myself and made my way to the basement door. It was closed just as I'd left it, but something about it felt wrong. The wood seemed darker, as if it had absorbed some of the filth in the air. My hands shook as I turned the knob. The smell hit me in a wave so strong that I gagged. I held my breath and descended the stairs, each creak of the wood echoing like a warning. The hole in the dirt floor was larger now. What had been a narrow shaft was now a wide pit, gaping like an open mouth. The claw marks on the walls had multiplied, crisscrossing over each other in jagged, frantic patterns. I shone the flashlight into the pit. This time I could see something, a faint shimmer of movement, like the surface of water rippling in the dark. The whispers returned, louder than ever, wrapping around me like a living thing. They weren't just sounds, they were in my head, scraping against my thoughts, pulling me closer to the edge of the pit. I stumbled back, but something caught my foot. I fell hard, the flashlight skittering out of my hand and landing just at the edge of the hole. I scrambled to grab it, my fingers brushing against something wet and cold. I yanked my hand back and shone the light on it. Blood. It wasn't mine. The whispers grew into a deafening roar. And for a moment, I couldn't tell if I was screaming or if it was them. I grabbed the flashlight and ran, my feet barely touching the stairs as I fled the basement. I slammed the door shut and leaned against it, my chest heaving. The house was silent again, but I didn't trust it. The smell was everywhere now, and the air felt charged, like the moments before a thunderstorm. I decided I had to leave for good. Whatever was happening here wasn't something I could fix or explain. As I packed a bag, I noticed something strange. The walls of the house, they were wet. Not damp, but slick with some kind of dark, oozing liquid. It dripped down in slow rivulets, staining the floorboards. The whispers returned, faint at first, then louder. They weren't coming from the basement anymore, they were all around me. I ran for the door, but it wouldn't budge. The knob turned, but the door stayed firmly in place, as if the house itself was holding it shut. Then I heard it. Footsteps. They were slow and deliberate, coming from the hallway behind me. I turned, my heart hammering in my chest. At the far end of the hallway, just at the edge of the flickering light, was a shadow. It was tall and thin, its edges indistinct as if it were made of smoke, but its eyes, they glowed faint and red, like embers in the dark. It started to move toward me, its footsteps echoing unnaturally in the stillness. I backed away, my hand fumbling for anything I could use as a weapon. My fingers closed around a heavy lamp, and I held it in front of me like a shield. The figure stopped, tilting its head as if studying me. Then it spoke. The voice wasn't human. It was deep and guttural, layered with tones that didn't belong together. I couldn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. You should have left. The lamp slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. The lights in the house went out. I don't remember how I got out. The next thing I knew, I was standing outside, the cool night air filling my lungs. The house loomed behind me, dark and silent, its windows like empty eyes. I never went back. But sometimes, late at night, I hear the whispers again. They call to me, pulling at the edges of my mind, reminding me of the thing I saw and the pit in the basement that never stopped growing.